Welcome to another episode of Cash Cuties, a super personal finance podcast where we look at our friends' credit card statements and judge their spending habits with love. I'm your host, Fumi Abe. Steffie's not with me this week because I'm traveling and I'm in New York City, but please send her your thoughts and prayers via DMs. She loves that. If you're listening to this on your Apple Podcast app, please leave a review, hit follow on Spotify, and sub to our YouTube channel for the video version of this podcast. All the links are available in the episode description below. We're just going to get right into it this week. Today's guest is a very good friend of mine. I am so excited to have her. She's a stand-up comedian, new wifey, but most importantly, the co-host of Celebrity Memoir Book Club, which is a podcast where they read celebrity memoirs so you don't have to. Please welcome to the show, Claire Parker.
Hello, my friend.
Hello,
Fumi.
my friend. Good to have you on the pod.
You know what? It's funny because I was thinking a lot about like my money journey in my life, and I was like, in my head, when I was rehearsing these conversations, because I'm always just having fake conversation in my head, I kept referring to you as like a college friend. And I was like, oh, you're not a college friend. You're just somebody I've known so long that I can't believe, like, I can't believe I've been doing stand-up for long enough that 10 years ago it was not college.
Yeah, I mean, we were like, I probably met you when you were 22 or 3.
21. I started when
you were still in college?
Well, because I'm an October birthday. So I started I met you right out the gate. So yeah, just freshly 22 years old.
I know.
Grizzly pear.
Grizzly pear, shout out to
you still were working in corporate America?
Yep, I was working in advertising and I met you I remember when I first met you, you had just gotten your headshots. Yeah. You would just get headshots and I remember thinking like, oh, I think you have to get headshots to make it. And then I got some.
Oh my God. The biggest advice I can give anybody, you don't fucking need headshots. I wouldn't even say I've like made it, but I have a good full-time living that I make doing comedy and content and stuff, and nobody's ever asked for a headshot. I guess we have content photos, but like the biggest advice I could give to anybody giving stand-up, I say don't assume anything's coming. Like, don't quit anything. Don't free up your schedule until you've missed something.
Yes.
Because the way that I started, I went to my first open mic and I was like, well, I have to be a waitress so that at any given minute when LA comes calling, I can jump on a plane and film my pilot. To this day, I think I quit my job a little over 2.5 years ago. I think I missed 4 days of full-time work total for extracurricular comedy things.
Right.
Nobody ever wanted me in anything.
LA never called. That's okay. Hey, but you made your own LA.
Yeah.
Which is what I want to kind of
I made my own LA in Ridgewood.
Yeah. Also, just want to give a quick shout out. You let me promote this podcast on your show about a year ago, and it helped us get started.
No way.
Yeah, I remember when you had us on, we had a lot of people from DMing us who were like, oh, I heard you on Celebrity Memoir Book Club or whatever. So
hell yeah.
Thank you so much for letting us do that.
Oh my God.
So glad to have you on our show. Just for the people who may not know who you are, which I'm sure they do. But if they don't, tell us a little bit about, sort of like who you are and how you're making a living these days.
Okay, so I am Claire Parker, and it's so funny. For so long, I had so much trouble calling myself a stand-up comedian because I was making my money doing day jobs like being a temp or an admin.
Yes.
I was a preschool teacher for a while, and I always had this
complex.
complex.
About your teacher phase.
Yeah, that was a 2-year phase where I was just like ruining America's future. But I always had a complex about being like, I can't really call myself a stand-up because that's not how I make my living. And now I don't have a full-time job. My full-time job is doing the podcast. And then I'm back to the same problem where I think of myself as a stand-up. I identify as a stand-up, but I've had a real problem with, I am not been getting up a lot. It's like a real existential dread question for me at this point.
Yeah.
And now again, I feel like a fraud calling myself a stand-up comedian because I make all of my money doing the podcast.
Yes.
And so now, but I something about calling myself a podcaster feels like a failure, but I also, it really is when people are like, oh, how's stand-up going? I freeze and I'm like, you don't understand that you have just made me question who I am, who I think I am, who I actually it's so much deeper than how's stand-up going.
Yes, this is so relatable. I actually wrote about this, not to toot my own horn, but they interviewed me for Vulture. And one of the things I said was, when I did Colbert, a late night set, that was the first time I felt like it was okay to tell people I do stand up at parties. And then
but that's because you go to parties and people say I do stand up and you go, oh, and they've done it one time at Gotham at 4 p.m. on a Saturday to 30 of their closest friends, and you're like, well, I'm not you, and the difference between me and you is that I have the self-awareness to know that I'm not a stand-up.
Right, but this thing of but why? I want to explore that for a second because there are people I meet who they're not necessarily doing stand-up, but they'll be like, oh, I'm an artist or something, right? And I'm like, oh, awesome, can I check out your stuff? And they don't have anything. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but I want that confidence to just tell people that you are something.
I went to a party.
You can't even back it up.
On the Lower East Side, where I felt really intimidated because everyone else seemed very downtown Manhattan cool, and I like didn't really know anybody, and I was so nervous the whole time, and I like kind of went home and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't fit in, I'm not cool. And then I started looking up who all these people were, and all of these people in their Twitter and Instagram bios called themselves comedians, and I went, well, I don't know you. No, you're not. And I was like, holy shit, I was insecure in this room of people who are pretending to do what I actually do.
Yes. I mean, I think like the bottom line is if you do it every day, whether it's at an open mic level or professional level, you can call yourself that.
I'm not.
Still podcaster.
But that's like something I have to work. I don't know. It's hard. And I feel I'm at a point right now where I am like, I can't even do stand-up at my podcast shows anymore because the jokes are so old. I feel so disingenuous. And I'm like, I have to shit off the pot, but I miss it so much because it is like my preferred like medium thing. Yeah, it's the only thing that every time I write a new joke and I don't know if it's going to go well and it goes well, like makes me feel that high.
That dopamine, yes.
Yeah, everything. Like the podcast we did, not to toot my own, but we were in DC and Philly. Yeah, we did 600 people in DC and I left being like, I don't know.
Do you not do stand-up for because I went to your first live show ever. So you still get to do it.
Yeah, but I'm doing old jokes and it feels so hacked. And I'm at the point right now where I feel like such a fraud that I can't put in the energy that I think the audience deserves. And I'm like too in my head of like, has anyone heard this joke before? And the joke of it all is if you're just an audience member, they don't know that they're supposed to be hearing new jokes every time.
Right.
They have no problem with the fact that they heard it last time.
Oh, no, they don't care.
They go to a concert, they hear all the songs they already know.
Yeah. I mean, I do think with comedy, there's like a limit to that, but I see what you're saying of like.
If you saw it one time last year.
Yeah, like I post my jokes on Instagram, but that's how I get followers and then I tour and then I sell tickets that way. And I've heard people DM me and request jokes. They're like, hey, can you do your army joke? And I'm like, I haven't done it in like 2 years, but
dude,
sure.
I have the one joke that went very viral on TikTok, and sometimes it's like my closer, and I watch people mouth the words, and I get so in my head.
Wait, but that's so cool, though.
Yeah, but you know, as a comedian, you're like, okay.
But they know it.
The punchline is going to be less zingy if it's not like a shock.
Right. Because it's kind of like, I think comedians are similar to like magicians. Like, it's all about the element of surprise. Yeah. So if you already know it, then it's not.
And also like the dopamine thing, like the addiction of getting people to laugh. I feel like for me, it really comes when I don't know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
So there is, to me, like this apex of a joke where it gets the biggest laugh it's ever gotten.
Yeah.
And then from then on out, even to get that same laugh, it doesn't feel as good because I know it's coming.
Right.
Or it feels worse.
Yes.
And so like once that joke has like hit for me, like when I'm like, okay, the room like loved that.
Yeah.
It never feels good again.
No, of course. This is interesting because going back to like, you know, you saying you can't call yourself a comedian because you feel so insecure about that. I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. This is interesting to me because I always thought people who feel like that maybe come from families where their parents were like, you ain't shit, you know? And I've met your parents. They're very nice people. And I went to your wedding. It was very, very beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel like your parents have been pretty supportive. I mean, like,
they're so supportive. My mom's an artist.
Oh, she is? Okay, so let's go back to that. Like, what do your parents do? Okay. Like, what was the vibe
So I will say,
up?
like, I joke that I almost feel like in the same way a lot of people feel pressure to become doctors or engineers. There wasn't pressure, but there was this like moral high ground of me going into a creative business. My mom is an abstract artist.
I didn't know that.
My parents met when my dad was in college and my mom was in grad school getting her MFA in painting.
Okay.
And my dad was an electrical engineer who like, I would say the majority of his money came from, he sold a tech company. So he's like an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And so
that's what you're battling.
Yeah, so to be like a creative entrepreneur was very much like, yeah, of course you go and start your own thing. Of course you forge your own path. Of course you be creative.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I went to Columbia and like when I graduated and told people I was doing stand-up, so many people's response was like, oh, you're throwing away your degree. But I was very much raised in this family of like, you go to college to like hone critical thinking and do something interesting. It's not trade school.
I fucking love that so much.
Like they were very much like you go to like meet the smartest people and like learn how to think the best things you can think, and then like you take that and you get to do something interesting. You don't have to like fall in line.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess there are some people who could say like, well, you know, that's like a privileged thing to say.
No, it's so privileged.
But I agree. But at the same time, I do believe people who think, because you know in comedy you meet a lot of people who they go up and they're fine, but then they believe in themselves 1,000%, and you're like, what is going on? You are not good. But those people have TV shows now.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like that same thing of like, you know, your parents telling you like, well, you learn how to critical think, you meet interesting people, and now you go do something that you actually want to do or passionate about. And it may not happen immediately, but you're making it happen right now because that's just the way you sort of saw life after college.
Yeah.
So you sort of manifest that, you know?
Well, I do feel like I didn't have that thing where I have like a time limit on me because I got to think of it as like a reasonable lifelong pursuit.
Yeah.
And even with all my day jobs, like I went from waitress to preschool teacher to my last day job, I was like admin receptionist. And it very much came from this place of like, this may take 10, 20 years. What's the thing I can do all day for 10, 20 years? Like, and I knew a lot of creatives, I think, go into freelance. They go into things that are like ad hoc. And I very quickly was like, the amount of energy that I put into like the stress or the finding the next job or not knowing my schedule, I cannot sustain that. And I also was like, I'm not some guy who can live in a basement with a roommate in my own bed, like eating cereal all day. I'm like, right. The switch that I made from being like making just enough to get by to enough to being able to be like, if I get into a festival in LA, I can pay to get out there kind of thing made all the difference.
Yes.
Because I was like, I don't think I can sustain a lifestyle where all I can eat is $1 pizza for 15 years.
No, and I don't think, there's like this, people romanticize the struggle like that. You go to New York City, you have 10 roommates, you eat $1 pizza every day. I don't necessarily think it has to look like that. I don't think it can look like that for a lot of people. Like, our mutual friend, Usama.
Yeah, he's Siddiqui. I mean, he is insane.
He's insane, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but he's going to be on TV soon. And everyone's going to know his name in like 2 years. He's going to be so famous.
But he was somebody who was like making good money for a while and like living on that guy's couch. And I'm like, for what?
What was he? Is he making money tutoring? Is that what he was doing?
No, but I feel like there was times where I'm like, you could get off a couch. It's been 7 years.
He still lives on that couch. So he literally pays like $200 to live on this guy's couch in Williamsburg, and he's been doing it for 7 years. But that's like his podcast story.
Yeah,
and
he loves that.
I remember
the Jim Carrey. I was in my own car writing myself checks.
I knew that he was gonna make it before me because we did a hostel show once, and at this hostel there was a group from Europe, and they all got pizza, and they were eating it in the kitchen. And Usama was hungry and he didn't have money, so we both go over there, and he steals a pizza. And then they start yelling at us, like, hey, that's our pizza. He shoves it in his mouth, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't know. And I put it back. But that was the difference between him and I.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
You have to take.
Yes, I can't go that far.
And I do think there is something to if I'm on the couch until I'm a millionaire, you get hungrier for it. Me and Ashley, man, we're so fucking bad at business. We were just, do you want to hear, this is a money thing.
Okay, yeah.
We had a deal with an app that we actually use. It's the app it's our Discord. I'll just say it. It's Geneva app, which is how it's like a girl Discord basically.
Oh, okay.
But so we have our members, they can sign in there, and then there's like ways for them to communicate.
Yeah.
And we have a couple thousand people who use it to communicate amongst themselves. And it was kind of a startup, so they reached out to us and they're like, we would love to work with you. And we were feeling like bullish at the time. So we were like, well, if you want us to work with you, you have to pay us. Even though in our hearts we were like, we've actually been looking for an app just like this.
Yeah.
And when it went back and forth and back and forth, and we ultimately came up with a $15,000 deal for 3 TikToks.
Okay.
And I just recently realized we never did them.
Oh my God.
Because we like tried a couple and they kept rejecting us and giving us these like really hacky things. They were like, they wanted us to do like a, hey, MTV, welcome to my crib. This is our Geneva homepage.
Oh, gotcha.
And we were like,
gotcha.
These are so bad. We won't do these TikToks. And every time we try to be like, well, what about this? They'd be like, no, we'd rather you do. And we were just like, we'd rather not.
That's okay. You made it sound like you just forgot, but this is okay.
We were like,
this is okay. I think that you don't necessarily need that money to live because you're already making money through ads and other podcast endeavors and touring. You are now at a place where you can make creative decisions like that.
Yeah.
I think if they approached you for whatever reason 5 years ago,
it would have been insane.
You would have done it. I mean, you would have done anything.
I would have done. I got my tattoo because I made $700 in 2 months, and I thought that was as good as it ever got. I have a tattoo on my foot to celebrate my success. I look back, and it's so funny because a question we get all the time whenever we're interviewed is they're like, "Can you believe? Are you so shocked at the level of success you have?" And I'm like, "No, because if you knew when I thought we got successful, like I think at one point we were getting 3,000 listens a week, and I quit my job.
Oh my God,
that's not enough to even get ads.
Okay, wait. I want to get into this because. I want to get into podcast biz because this is so fascinating.
But it's also funny, can I say, when we look at my credit card statement, you're going to see the struggle I feel with, like, I don't even want to call it imposter syndrome, but because it's not like that I don't think I deserve where we're at as a podcast, because I am like, I don't know, man, every single person chooses. Like, nobody said yes to us. Every person who turns in, like, each listen is somebody individually of their own accord wanting to listen, 100%. And I don't feel apologetic about it. I'm whatever. But I do have, like, the presentation wise. So you'll see we went to DC And I used to feel a lot of guilt about getting my hair done for shows.
Uh-huh.
And I finally was like, you dumb bitch. 14-year-olds are getting their hair done for algebra class. You're performing for 600 people. You're allowed to like have your hair look nice. And I spent, you'll see, $200 at Sephora because I had forgotten all of my makeup and like it was at the studio. I didn't have time to get it before we got on the train. And it was the first time in my life where I was like, you're allowed to wear makeup to your theater show.
Oh my God.
And it was such like it's like the first time I've really let myself do something like that. I've probably spent $100 on makeup every 2 years. And so this was like a huge thing for me. But I was like, no, Claire, you're performing for people. You have to look professional. Like, what is wrong with you? You're allowed.
So you're full-time podcasting now, and you have a studio, and you have some part-time. You're a businesswoman. You guys are CEOs, co-CEOs. Earlier you mentioned you quit your job when you were getting 3,000 listens a week, which is not bad, but obviously not enough to live off of.
It's not at all monetizable.
No. And
you're still in the red in terms of...
I wanted to ask you, like, obviously now you're super successful and you're touring and all that, but like, when did you know to take that leap and invest in yourself? Because that's something we talk a lot about on this podcast, whether comedy or not. There's a lot of listeners who are like, we have a listener who is in the beekeeping business. I have no idea when he decided to start a bee farm. Like, I don't know how that works, and I think a lot of people want to do it. Similar to how you said you couldn't call yourself a comedian at parties. Similar to that, I think a lot of people are ready or want to be ready, but they just don't know when to pull the plug. And I just want to ask you about that. Like,
okay,
generally.
So I'm happy to talk about it because I have a lot of things and I have like a lot of beliefs. And I will say, like, up top, this is a finance podcast. I think something that does is like a lot of privilege for me that it separates is I didn't have student loans. So I am like a debt-free person. So I'm like starting at zero and working my way up, and I couldn't really go below zero. And so I think that is a freedom that I want to acknowledge. But when we quit, we were making $0. It was June 2021. It was the middle of the pandemic, and there was a couple factors. One is as we talked about earlier, I always had this idea. My mindset was get a day job, save as much as you can, and then when you turn 30 years old, I will live off of my savings and give myself 1 year from 30 to 31 to see if I can make a go at stand-up. And if I can't make money off of it by 31 after giving myself a full-time year to try to make anything happen, then I need to like sit down and reassess my life. And like that doesn't mean I have to quit stand-up forever, but I think like if at 30 years old I give it 1 whole year and I can't get any fucking smoke or fire.
But this is after 10 years of doing it.
Yeah,
10
exactly.
years of
so
practicing.
I started at 21.
Yeah.
Of 9 years of prepping and then 1 full year of going as hard as I can, and it's like clear that it's not going anywhere. I can have it to the side, but that was going to be kind of my sign that I need to maybe get into the creative agency. Like I need to like become a copywriter. Like, you know what I mean? Like I need to find a different career path, and this can always be a dream and something I'm working on, but I have to like call it quits.
That's really intense because some would say that it's not fair to put a time limit. I don't know what your thoughts on that is.
I agree, but I also do think it's different for everybody. And I think I never would have quit stand-up even if it hadn't worked. I think that's something I always like would have loved doing, kept coming back to for the social life and like for the personal fulfillment. I did think like this dead-end job where I have a career, my day job is something I don't care about, and I'm like, it's a huge sacrifice at night. Like your whole life revolves around it. If I ever wanted to have a family, like at some point, I needed to like reshuffle around the priorities. Yeah. And be realistic.
Sure.
And I guess I did kind of feel like, I don't know, like there is something, there must be comedians that because I know them, where you go, this is never going to happen for you. You're not funny. You don't even work that, like nothing about this is going to work out. Why don't you know?
Right.
And I kind of had that fear of like, what if that's me?
I know
this would be the week from the chaff year. And I'm not saying like I could never do a bar show again, but I did have to say like maybe at some point you're not a contender. Yeah. At some point you missed Olympic qualifying times 9 times in a row and you're only getting older.
But for real, that is a very like realistic and like authentic thing to have a conversation with yourself about that, because as you get older, you're right. I don't want to be 37 waitering and doing comedy. I mean, like I still want to. I'll probably never make comedy. I always say that to myself, like to your point. Even if I can't make a living out of it, I'm always going to do it a little bit just because I like it.
There's guys at the cellar who I feel like have normal jobs, get passed at the cellar, and then like that's kind of it. They have.
There was a guy, Ethan SB. He was like a nurse, I think. Yeah. I think he quit recently, but yeah, there's a lot of people who just kind of.
And I think that's great. And I almost think there was times in the pandemic where I was like, if I could just get passed at the cellar, or like even just at a club where I could get regular spots to work on this, like that would be, because there were times in my life where I was like, what is enough? Because I know I need some kind of outlet. Yeah. But like, what could I survive with if I gave up everything? What could I keep going and feel like myself? And it was stand up at night. But so anyway, so I had this year, and then the pandemic hit, and I was at the time a receptionist. And something interesting about my old job is we went back to the office June 2020.
Literally 7 months after COVID broke out.
2.
Oh, 2. Oh, wait. March?
April, May, and then we went back.
Oh, my God. Crazy.
We might have even gone back in May because I quit June 1st. And
is that legal?
It was like, they were like, we think it might be 2 weeks. And they're like, it might be. So I don't know, we had this insane CEO whose shtick was that she was like, we don't want people to think that we're afraid of the virus. And I was like, but we are. And so we went back, and it was like this insane thing where it was like we cut the office in half, so half of the people would come, the other, so that nobody was sitting next to anybody. But God. I was a receptionist admin, so I was alone at a desk in the front of the office. Nobody was allowed to talk to each other because you couldn't get close.
Yeah.
And my job was like booking travel and like letting people in for meetings. And of course there was no travel, there was no meetings. So I was sitting at this desk. My one task was getting lunch for people. But I couldn't even go out to get lunch, so I had to order it. So my one task a day was like going on Seamless and ordering people's lunch. And then for the rest of the time I was there 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I was like dreaming of smashing I got to the point where I was just like not suicidal, but very much like, well, the point of life is gone. And like it was so bad. And like I am somebody who, bad days, good days, I feel like I'm a pretty happy person, and I feel like I always do something I like. And I was like, the feeling that hit me that I said I have to get out of this was I would wake up every morning like excited for the day to be over so that we could just, and I was just like, I can't live my life like this. I can't live my life like excited for it to be over.
Right.
This isn't worth it. And then we read the Matthew McConaughey memoir for the podcast, and this is the most embarrassing fact about me. But we read his book.
Rest in power.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, wait, sorry. Who am I thinking of?
Perry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Matthew McConaughey was like, all right. He has a book called Green Lights, which is about in your life, there are things that are green lights, and that means go. And sometimes you think you're seeing a red light, but afterwards you look back and you go, that was a green light. So it's like very much like if a bumper sticker made a book kind of thing. But he had this chapter called Turn the Page. And the premise was, if you're not happy with your life, just turn the page. And I was like, that's so true. And I really was like, I can't take it anymore. And here's the thing. My old job did this thing called profit share, which is at the end of July, every single employee from like me, who was a receptionist, to the top person would get the same chunk of change.
Okay,
and
like a bonus.
Yeah, a bonus. So there was a Christmas bonus and there was a July bonus. And that's how they kind of make sure no
that's
one
amazing.
ever. Yeah, it was a good job. I mean, it was, for what I wanted was just to stack money so I could quit and get out. It was actually a great job. I had a ton of vacation. I had great health care. It really worked. It was a great job for me to have to meet my goals. But the thing is, there's always like another chunk of change coming. So you never really want to leave.
Right.
And so I actually had heard that the money we were going to get paid out that July, I think it was like $18,000.
Okay.
And it was June 1. And I was like, my goal was just make it to the end of July and then quit. And I couldn't do it. And it was this like Matthew McConaughey mindset of, I had $30,000 in savings that I had saved over the years with this goal of like, when I turned 30, I quit. And I had this like mindset of like, I have to just believe in myself. I can't just sit around and always wait for the money. I was like, at the end of the day, if the goal was to make more money, I would be in a job that makes money. I need to like bet on myself. And I very specifically, I was like, I feel like it puts out into the universe how much I believe in myself if I do this with like confidence and against reason. And I don't know, I like turned it in my head into the symbolic thing of like, you can't buy me. Like what is my time worth? Like what is my life worth?
Yeah.
I can't sit here miserable, like literally hitting my head against the desk for $18,000. And that's pre-tax. So like tax.
So real. Wait, at this point, how are the stats doing podcast wise?
This was when we had
3,000.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good, but like obviously.
We had not made a dollar.
Right.
So me and Ashley had a deal with the podcast where the only way we were making money was through Patreon. And we had said up to $1,000 on the Patreon, it all just goes back to the company.
Right.
Because this is our third podcast. We did a web series one time where we each spent like $2,500. Like we're very much in the red on our comedy careers in general and on the podcast. And so we just said,
this is your third podcast, right?
Yeah. And so we were like, well, anything under $1,000, it's not really worth like divvying it up because there's so many expenses and we still want to upgrade equipment. So we'll just keep putting that back into the pool.
Yeah.
And then if anything over $1,000, we'll split.
Yes.
So I quit in June. I think we were doing 3,000 listens and we were making under $1,000 on the Patreon. I think in July we finally hit 100 Patreons.
Okay.
It must have been the next July though, because that would have been
a year from.
I can't remember. So this 20, maybe not. No, I guess that July we hit 100 Patreons because I remember posting it.
Yeah.
And then that September we were able to pool together the post $1,000 from July and August to pay ourselves each something like $1,300.
Wow.
And we literally went and got tattoos. I remember having this feeling, or maybe it's like when we hit, but like that fall we got these tattoos to be like, we are so fucking successful. It is finally all happening for us. And it was still like not a month, like I guess I could pay rent because I had a freakishly low rent, but I mean, you can't live off of $1,300 every 2 months in New York City. I had this feeling, that's why I got the tattoo, because I was like, I felt invincible. I felt unstoppable in a way that was like drug induced.
See, this is the interesting about money. We always talk about this on the show. There is such an emotional component to money, and it has nothing to do with the amount. That money you made, $1,300 from your own fucking sweat and blood, just everything. You made that on your own, and that was like symbolic in a way. So I totally understand how you could feel invincible. To you, that was $1 million. I
mean, it really felt like to not be coming up red, to be able to pay for anything with money we had earned. It was insane. The year before, we always do a Christmas party, and one year it was like we got hot chocolates at this famous hot chocolate place, and then the Christmas before we had gone to this, it's called Le Crocodile in Williamsburg, and it's kind of like a fancy restaurant, and all the money we had collected we could put towards that dinner, and that was like all of the money we had made that year, so it was like $150.
Yeah.
But something about being like, this was a free dinner. It was like, we were like, this is amazing.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, okay, I want to ask you this because recently, I cannot say the name, but a good friend of mine, they have a very big podcast. They are splitting because they just didn't work out with the host. I feel a lot of things in entertainment don't last forever, especially if you work with somebody else. It's not because you can't be friends, but it's just, that's just how it is. You know, think of every band you loved in high school. None of them are together except Weezer. That's literally Weezer and Foo Fighters.
We saw Weezer this summer.
You did?
Actually. At Forest Hills, baby.
Oh, that's really nice. So sometimes I think, and these guys are making pretty good money, and they're full time. One person bought a nice car. It was a whole thing, and now she is looking for a new job. And now, of course, like there's some ad revenues that's gonna be paid out, and they're doing okay. But I feel like sometimes in entertainment, not to bring it down, but shit doesn't last forever, and you ever think about that as and if so, what are you doing anything right now that is quote unquote smart with the money to sort of prepare for a future, or are you just like rock and roll, baby, let's just live it up and then we'll figure it out later kind of thing?
So is the question, are we worried about breaking up, or is the question, are you worried that nothing lasts forever?
It's nothing lasts forever, right? So it's not about you and Ashley breaking up. It's more just like, hey, it could be that 3 years from now people just don't want to hear this anymore.
So we are 100%. I mean, the thing you're filming with us on Saturday. We are actively pursuing other entire new mediums and like other projects together.
Yes.
I think Ashley has started a second podcast just to like have other things in the air. I want to get back into stand-up so that I always have that.
Yes.
We're going to start we had tried to start a newsletter. We got kind of lazy with it. We're bringing our newsletter back. And then also we're starting a whole new series that we're excited to like bring out in January to try to like expand.
More podcasting?
No, it's a YouTube interview series that kind of will be more off the cuff, not book reading, but very like chicken shop datey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So more interview style questions that could open up more interviews. But we are very aware that like, I don't know how long we can read books a week. It's very time consuming.
Oh no, but I mean, you earlier it's like I feel bad I can't devote more time into writing jokes with my fans. I'm like, you're reading a goddamn book a week? That's great. I read like one book every 6 months, dude. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, I don't know, but we're trying to like get more projects going, because I do think you always have to be expanding. I mean, Taylor Swift, however you feel about her, she had this thing in Miss Americana where if you want to be a woman in the public eye, you have to constantly be reinventing yourself in ways that feel familiar but are new. And like, I do believe that. And something so interesting I saw about an influencer. I recently saw someone talk about Tinks. I don't know if you guys know her. Tinks?
I don't know what Tinks
is.
Yeah,
I don't know. She is a controversial influencer, but I saw somebody comment about why they didn't like her is they go, I really liked her when she first came out, but I've listened to her radio show and she's always saying the same old thing. I miss the old Tinks. And I was like, this is such a funny example of the Miss Americana thing, because they're saying they hate who she's become because who she's become is who she always was. And they miss the old her because she's still saying the same like, it doesn't even make sense.
Right.
And what they mean is they miss like, and so it's hard. You do always have to have something new.
Are they saying that they missed back when it was fresh?
Yeah, I think they miss hearing it for the first time. They miss like who she was to them when she was saying something they hadn't heard. But that doesn't mean she's changed. The problem is that she hasn't changed. Right. When she changed too much, The fact that she stayed stagnant to them says she changed, but then you have to change in a way that feels reasonable. I don't know.
I love this because you're basically thinking like a CEO, right? Like plateauing is bad.
Yeah.
So yes, you're growing or whatever, but you have to come up with new products now. Like if you're Steve Jobs, you're like, sweet, we have a computer now. We need an iPhone, iPod, whatever, right? So you're like, that's so smart. Also, I feel like, man, this is like not to shit on LA, but I feel like this is, you and Ashley are so inspiring to me as comedians, but also as like New Yorkers, because I feel New Yorkers are all about the work.
Yeah.
We're doing the work. Even if it's not netting us a lot of good stuff, it's like we're going to put the work in. And I feel LA is very much like vibes first.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that is bad, because sometimes you can get stuff through vibe. I think I lack vibes sometimes.
Oh, my new theory about me is like my comedy origin story is that I have a bad vibe. And people just don't like me when they meet me, so I had to be like, no, I'm self-deprecating.
I swear to God, dude, like this is like, and the fact that, you know, it's so interesting, like I just feel like a lot of people in LA are just like vibes first, and they'll get, some people go really far, some people don't get anything, but I know WeWork is filing for bankruptcy, but they were doing this ridiculous deal. So I signed up for this WeWork membership for 6 months, where I pay like a little over $100 to access all their offices, and I actually use it when I'm on the road because.
Oh, that's smart. I mean, the on the road shit is a nightmare.
Because I can't work in the hotel, and sometimes they won't let me check in, so I'll just go to WeWork.
That's the worst when you show up at like.
The worst.
There's been days where I'm like, I'm only here for the time I cannot access a hotel.
And check-in's at like 3 or 4. You gotta show at 7. Like what? You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly. That's what I mean. I got here at noon.
Yeah.
And even if I had bought for the night before, I would have had already. I'm here from noon. I need a place till 5.
Exactly.
I'm not paying $250.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
There's a wellness. This is a little life hack. There's a wellness room at every WeWork. It's like windowless. There's a lot of like little couches, and it's very nice. I go in there, take a goddamn nap.
Good.
And I go to the hotel. Anyways, I was at WeWork in New York yesterday, and I go to the WeWorks a lot in LA. In LA, people. By 5 p.m., there's no one at the WeWork. But yesterday in New York, it was packed at 5 because people are just fucking working, you know? It's just a different fucking mentality. So I love just saying this. I love hearing that you're like innovating.
Well, that's like one of the complexes I have is that I'm never working hard enough. And this is something me and Ashley used to kind of like bicker about is we work about the same amount of hard, but I feel guilty that I'm not working harder.
Yes.
And she is always like, well, wasn't that the goal, that we didn't have to kill ourselves, like we could have a living without killing ourselves?
Yeah.
But I will say, now that we're on the road and now that we're touring and we've added these other things, for the first time in my life, I'm like, okay, we're putting in, because now we're having, in order to get ahead on episodes, we have to record like 2 episodes a week sometimes.
Right.
So we're reading 2 books, recording 2 episodes. And then we're also doing the Patreon, plus sometimes we'll do a bonus episode, and then we're on the road doing tour, and we're doing other podcasts, and we have a lot of, for the first time, I'm like, oh, I'm busy, kind of all day now.
Right. I mean, when you sort of, for Patreon, what are you guys doing on this? But more episodes, more books?
Not more books, but we will, watch a TV show, read an article, and that's one of those things that seems so easy, but when you are, I'll be like, oh, I'll watch All of Selling Sunset, and I'm like, okay, that is 10 hours that I have to, sit and pay attention.
And you have to write funny shit.
Yeah.
Think of funny shit. Oh my God, that's so much work. But I mean, it totally makes sense why you guys are so successful, because you put in the work.
I will say one thing I am proud of is I'm like, nobody can say we're not putting shit out. We churn out. We take 2 weeks off a year. We've never missed a Patreon in 3 years.
That's crazy. I mean,
had a Patreon the week of my honeymoon go out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We recorded the Sunday after my wedding.
So how does that? So you're married now.
Yeah.
Has that ever come between you and your husband, because your husband has a regular job in finance? You work these crazy hours because not only are you on tour, but you're reading these books, you're doing podcasting, you're doing my podcast. How does that? I think the appeal of comedians dating other comedians sometimes is the lifestyle schedule, right? And it's hard to explain that to somebody.
Because my schedule is the opposite of a day. We are touring on the weekends at night
when he's free.
Yeah, and that has. So when we first got together, it was actually perfect because, he was an analyst. He was the one above an analyst. He was working till 11 p.m. every night. Anyway.
Finance.
And it was perfect because I would get out at 6, go do 2 or 3 mics, do my show, and then he lived on the Lower East Side. I'd meet him back. We'd meet at his apartment at 11, and it was perfect. Mm-hmm. And it definitely, that is one of the things that's hard now. We live a little bit further from a lot of the stand-up. I used to live right off the L in Williamsburg. Now we live in Bed-Stuy. It's a little bit harder to get everywhere. I don't get to see him as much, and
we just got married a month ago.
I know, but we're both on the road constantly. After our honeymoon, we went 2 weeks without seeing each other. Because
how is that?
It's hard. It's like, I mean, sometimes it's hard. Like I miss him, but it's hard because then it's like to prioritize him. It's like it's Sunday. So I can't see anybody else Sunday now. You know what I mean? It is like...
And it's also probably exciting for you because you're like doing the road on a large scale for the first time. Because I remember the first one you ever did in LA was like in this little bar, the Virgil.
Oh my God.
100 people.
It was, It
was amazing.
The one before
but that was how
we did
you started.
And like before that was the Gutter, where we had to take our own tickets because Jack Comstock didn't think we needed a ticket taker for our
remember
show.
you saying, I can't even get in touch with venue XYZ, even though we can, and now look at you fucking doing Sony Hall.
Yeah.
You're doing these big ass theaters.
I mean, I have to say, there have been, when we did the Howard Theater in DC and when we did Sony Hall in New York, me and Ashley went in there and we're such fucking dumb bitches. We show up, we wore I Heart New York shirts that we just like bought on the way to the venue because we thought that would be like a funny outfit to wear.
Yeah.
And we took the subway and then we got in there and like the Sony Hall is down the stairs and it feels like you're in the Titanic or something. It's super fancy. Something that always fucks with me is when like a room has a ton of staff. So it's a 550 person room that we had sold out. And like there's a staff meeting with like 50 people and there's 2 tech guys and there's a general manager and like there's multiple green rooms. And me and Ashley were like, oh my God.
You're in your tourist t-shirts?
We're literally wearing an I Heart New York shirt that I ripped with my hands to make it sexier. And this is when we literally looked at each other. We were like, should we have done our hair for this? Like, we like each had eyeliner that we got from CVS. And like, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should have gotten a photographer. Like other people have full videographers for this shit. And we're just like on our phones taking a photo. Be like, look at the audience. This is crazy. And I think it is stuff like that where we're so conscious of, you know, in the comedy world, there's the type of comedian who takes more photos of themselves doing stand-up than makes jokes kind of thing.
Yes.
And I think you strive to never be them, but there's a reason they're doing that. It's because you have to, like, we struggle with the balance of, like, what promotion we deserve. I mean, Mac, my husband, we had Patrick Stewart on the podcast the other day.
I saw that.
And nobody knew because we didn't announce it. We didn't promote it. We just, at the end of the podcast, I go, I wonder what he thinks about this. Well, I guess we'll ask him. And now Patrick Stewart. And everybody thought it was, like, a bit. That we were like joking, and it was. And Matt goes, "Why didn't you promote that, Claire?" And I go, "Well, I honestly didn't think it would like bring us new listeners. I don't think anybody would listen to us or Patrick Stewart." He goes, "Yeah, but you can still tell people like the types of things you're doing, so that they understand
100%.
where you're at in your career."
This is the LA vibe shit I'm talking about.
I literally go, "I hadn't even considered that. That's a really good point."
God, how many people are on your team? It's just you and Ashley. And
yeah,
do
no,
you
we have
a
editor.
producer or
no,
like
no. We have an editor.
Have you thought about getting someone to think about all that shit so you don't have to?
So we have an agent. We have a touring agent who I love we went last year.
But they're not going to get you a photographer and stuff.
No.
Yeah.
We recently signed with a manager. I don't know what that'll do for us ultimately. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely our own fault. It's also this is the money thing is we're kind of like, you see how much it cost. Like our manager will be like, hey, we found this videographer in Boston. It's $5,000. And you're like, well, that's how much you make if you sell out.
Right.
I didn't go to Boston to come back empty-handed to tell people I went to Boston.
Yeah, and for you guys, it's tough because you do have to split everything halfway.
Yeah.
So like if you were doing it alone, you might be like, I can find someone for 3.
10% goes to the manager, and then 10% goes to the agent.
Right.
And then the manager is like, well, the 10% cut you give me, I found this list of people that you can't afford. And then you divide, and you're like, okay, plus if I get a sweet green.
So that's something we think about a lot is because like we have some money coming in from like random dynamic ads and Patreon and some other shit that we do. People sometimes Venmo us money, which please keep doing that at the Fumi Abe. We love that. But we literally like the other day we just bought a second camera because we're like, we have to invest. So we got that. But now we're like back down to $0 because that camera was like $1,000, you know.
Cameras are so expensive.
They're so expensive. But it's like we use it every week. Like, why not, you know? And but that's the thing of like, do we keep investing even if we go in the red because we believe in ourselves? Or like, what, you know, I think I always struggle with that. And it sounds like that struggle never ends because obviously you guys have enough money to make a living now. But you're still having these convo of like, should we take pictures? You know what I mean? Like,
and then every time you hire somebody, it's so hard to hire somebody to do something you've always done yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, well, am I getting my money value out of this? And then you're like, it's not exactly right. Like I should just kept doing it myself. Like, and then it's the question of, well, with all this time I just bought myself, am I doing something that's more valuable than that $50 an hour? Because our thing is that everyone who works for us we don't pay less than $50 an hour because we try to be like good bosses or whatever.
Of course.
But that is like an amount of money where I'm like, what did I do this hour that brought in another $50 that made outsourcing it worth it?
You know what's so funny? I have a secret to tell you. So last year when we hung out, I think I was like, so I had left my job at Corden in like June. So it had been like maybe 6 months. And this is like right kind of maybe 5 or 4 months before the writer's strike. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I remember every time I'm in this weird state in between jobs, I spiral and I just get back on LinkedIn. I get back on LinkedIn and I apply to like UX job, like whatever.
Yeah.
I remember I was like interviewing for like a consumer insights project. Went to the final interview. I don't think I ended up getting it because I kept talking about comedy too much, and I think they were like, "This guy's not gonna work." But I keep doing that because I like I have trouble like believing that something will come if I keep doing shit.
Well, also everything we've seen people get to what we thought was a height that was sturdy and then fall back down.
Exactly.
Nothing is forever.
Nothing is forever.
And okay,
right.
so I have two things to say. One, if people are out there being like, do I take the leap? What you just said is always what I say to them. I go, worst case scenario, if you're like, I hate my job, I'm just a bartender, I feel like it's a dead end job and I want to like pursue this other thing, blah, blah, blah. I go, do you think you can't be a bartender again? I can always go back to the job I had.
Right.
I was a receptionist. I can be a receptionist again. Ashley was a copywriter, and it's funny. We always talk about like the nepotism of supportive parents. Like,
yes.
And so we talk about like the real difference between me and Ashley is her parents were much more cautious, and they're like, is there a real career here? Whereas my parents are very supportive, and that makes a material difference, even if there's not like it's not a connections thing or a finance thing. But not having to explain yourself at every step of the way, it gives you such a leg up. And so she always had parents who were like, well, what if this falls apart? Like, how will you ever go back to your job? And she was like, don't you understand? I was a copywriter for Instagram. The fact that I built a business from scratch based on my own voice that has like hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok, 50,000 followers on Instagram, millions of downloads. That is like a more impressive resume builder than anything I was doing working for a sheets company.
100%.
And it's like you're either developing skills or you can, for the most part, you can go back to something. Maybe if you have some incredible finance job, like you won't go right back in. But like the years of work you did beforehand don't go nowhere. And then there's always something that you will get hired doing. And then like you are skill building. If you're honestly working at something, you're not doing nothing. You're skill building. And you can take those skills
100%.
and apply them to something else.
Okay, but the secret part, this is the secret part. And actually...
I was wondering, I was like, okay.
Okay, but the conversation I had with you changed what my decision. I was literally going to ask you if I could help you do video for your podcast for money.
Oh, because you helped me. I would have hired you to do that.
But we were talking and you were like talking about your podcast and you were like so inspiring. I decided not to ask you in that moment. And I'm like, I'm going to just do my thing.
Hell yeah.
I swear to God, I was literally going to ask you.
Funny.
And I was like, I don't know how it works because I don't even live here, but I don't know. Like, I can do video shit for you.
Yeah, but it'll be on Dropbox.
But like, yeah, I was literally, that's not why I asked you to hang out, but I was literally going to ask you that. And I changed my mind mid-conversation. And I never told you that.
Well, can I say it hadn't even occurred, even as you were telling me that, it didn't occur to me that you would only ask to hang out because of that until you were like, and that's not why I wanted to hang out. And I was like, oh, is that why we wanted to? I was like, oh, there's a facet of the hang. I didn't even, and then you were like, but that's not the only reason I called you. And I was like, oh, I guess that was the only reason he called me.
I want to talk about the finances of weddings, okay? Because this is something actually some of your listeners DM'd us about. They were like, you should have Claire on talk about the finances of weddings. And
Nosy bitches.
Nosy bitches. Now, we don't have to get to crazy shit, but like...
No, I mean, I'm happy. Listen, honestly, it is like, if you emailed them, they would tell you. It's not
like... Oh, yeah. Well, I was looking... Okay, I don't know anything about weddings. I'm not married, but I did read that the average New York City wedding expect to spend between 50 to 90K on a full-service venue. I also found some data on the average wedding cost in 2022 in different states.
And is that venue, does that count like photographer, flowers, music, or is that just the venue itself?
I don't know what full service means.
Because normally a full service venue, it like comes with bar, food, wait, staff,
Maybe.
venue, but like they don't necessarily come with a DJ. They don't come with flowers. Like if you want to decorate it, that's like, what does your dress cost?
Right.
Photographer, no venue comes with a photographer.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it could be either or, but like, where do you stand on like how much you spend on your wedding? How'd you finance? Are you happy?
Yeah. It's so funny. I got stuck in an LA airport or a Vegas airport for hours after my wedding. So I did a little question box, and the number one question I got was, do you wish you had eloped? And I'm like, that's so rude. I'm literally on my honeymoon, and your first thing you're coming to me on the day of my honeymoon going big regrets, huge mistake, thousands of dollars flushed down the toilet.
Right.
I was like riding high. Firstly, I want to say I don't regret my wedding. Second of all, my parents paid for my wedding. Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a secret I'll tell you on the pod. Okay. My dad thinks he paid for all of my wedding.
He thinks, but
he won't listen to this, I'm sure. But okay, so my wedding had two parts. So I had.
Go ahead. I don't know why. I just thought of Usher Confessions Part 1, Part 2, but go ahead. 2 parts. Go ahead.
So these are my confessions. Yes. So I had a ceremony dinner party, like for close friends and family. And then my husband's from Canada. So my kind of thing was, if you flew, Like you get them, like, you know what I mean? Like, but a lot of the people we invited were just from New York City. There were people that, you know, we're close. I feel like if I had been like, oh, come sit down for like, you know what I mean? There was a lot of people that I got to invite that if I had a very formal, every single plate was $400 or whatever, you probably wouldn't have made the list.
Right.
But I was very happy to have you come celebrate and dance and buy. Like I said, I was like, there's a lot of people I want to buy a drink. There's not a ton of people I need to see my dad cry.
Sure.
And that was kind of the division.
That's a good quote.
And so the way that we did the dinner part is we rented out a backyard of an Italian restaurant in Carroll Gardens, which does a lot of like wedding type events. And they have an area where you can do the ceremony, and then they can seat up to 100 people for the dinner. I only did 88 because I wanted to keep it as slow as possible. Yeah. And it's one of those things where in your head you're like, oh, it's gonna be 50, 60 people, and then you start adding up cousins, and if your cousin's married, you're like, oh my God, how did it?
Yeah.
But I invited 10 friends to the wedding.
Okay.
So I was basically like the people at the dinner is like it'd be like bridesmaid, like whoever would have been in the wedding party almost. I didn't do bridesmaids.
Does 10 count the bridesmaids?
I didn't have bridesmaids.
Oh, you didn't have bridesmaids. Okay,
so essentially it was like a rehearsal dinner. It
right,
was like
right.
family and like immediate friends.
It was still 88?
Yeah.
Because Mac had a lot more people?
Mac has, unfortunately, a group of friends where there is a top 18 men.
What the hell does that mean?
It means he's like, I have 18. He, at one point when we were early dating, he told me if we had a wedding with a bridal party, he thinks he would have had 18 groomsmen.
He has 18 best friends?
Yes.
That's disgusting to me.
Yeah, it was insane. And then I remember at that point he goes, I don't think we'd have to invite my aunt and uncle. So I'm like, okay, so in your idea of this wedding, you're standing at the altar with 18 men, and then just like your parents are in the pews. Like who else would be there? We can't have every single guest stand.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing no bridal party. We stood up there with our siblings, and then basically whoever would have been in the bridal party kind of got invited. But the problem was, anybody for him that was like on the edge, you kind of had to invite to the dinner because they're all coming from Canada. Whereas I have a lot of people, I told him like no work friends, basically. Like he couldn't invite anybody from work because I was like, once you invite one person from work, then you have to invite everyone from work. And they're all in Manhattan. Just have them fucking meet us for the after party because I don't feel bad not giving you dinner if you didn't even fly.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So anyone who traveled, but we didn't give them +1s because I'm like, 18 boys, you give them all +1, that's 36 people, that's a third.
That's crazy, yeah.
I'm trying to keep this, that would have been half the guest list or whatever. So it was small, and we did dinner. And that venue, I think I rented it out from like 5 to 9, but you would have I could have had it from like, most people do 6 to like 11 or 5 to 10 or something. With the idea it's like 1 hour for the ceremony, and then you could do a cocktail hour and then like 3 hours for dinner or something.
Yeah.
But because we had the second venue, I kind of cut it short. So we were there from 5 to 9. And I think their thing was for 100 people to do a full buyout. The food and beverage minimum was $30K.
Okay.
And that comes with all the drinks, all the food. And for our 88 people, we actually had to add a couple extras to hit the food and beverage minimum.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I think that also and then there was a couple of taxes and fees. But I would say all in all, I think it did come out between like $35,000 and $40,000.
Just
including,
for that first venue.
Yeah. But what you just read, $50K for, like, you know what I mean? Like that's actually not a bad deal.
That's not bad. Yeah.
If you think, because a lot of these venues are like $30K and you have to rent all the tables and chairs and everything. Like, because it's a restaurant, you don't have to rent anything. All the food is already there. All the alcohol is included. All the service is included.
Also, a lot of people forget that in New York City, I've been to like a couple weddings in New York City, and you're right, they do it at like cool restaurants. Like you did it at like Pony Boy. I went to a restaurant I went to a wedding like in Bushwick one time.
It's a lot cheaper that way because if you there was a venue in like Long Island City, and a lot of them will be like $15K for a space. And you think, okay, well, I'll just like piecemeal rent everything. That'll be cheaper. And then you look into rental costs, and it's like $1, $2 a fork.
You're talking about
I'm literally not kidding. And a lot of people are now just buying things off of like Alibaba and stuff. But if you get an empty venue, when you start renting chairs, tables, because you have to rent.
You're like producing a comedy show at this point.
And it costs another like 34. Like you could not believe the expense of rentals and stuff.
Wow.
So to have it all there and for it to be all in to do a full wedding.
Yeah.
With food, beverage, service, everything, and be like, it was like 36 to 40K
that's not
is
bad.
actually
That's
really
not
not
bad.
bad for New York City. And I recognize in other parts of the world, whatever, but like, I mean, the Bowery, I think I asked them
what it would cost. Ballroom?
No, but there's a Bowery Hotel.
Okay,
they have on their second floor. I did a bunch of cost analysis. I run out to a couple of places that you see people get married.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like $60K minimum. That doesn't include anything.
Oh my God. So you're definitely going to 100 with like food, everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think the Wythe Hotel where a lot of people get married is $100K for 120 people. That doesn't count bar or like that doesn't count.
Now, it's a 100 people wedding. Is that big or small?
I think medium? What you came and saw, I think I had probably 135, 140 at Pony Boy.
Yes.
So I think a lot of weddings are like 120.
No, that Pony Boy thing, part 2.
So that was the thing. So then I had a part 2 wedding.
Yes.
Where then we rented out a bar. And this is where I lied because I again, cost analysis a lot of the things. And Pony Boy was the first place I wanted to go to. I emailed them in March of 2022. I got engaged in June of 2022. So I was just like, okay, I know what I want, and it's this. And they came back with a number that I went, well, that's just too much fucking money. And so then I went around to all the other bars, and the other bars I looked at were so much cheaper. So in New York City, in Williamsburg, there's a Nikki's Unisex, Blinky's, you can get for like $7K and rent it out.
Just to rent it out for a night.
An open bar for your friends.
Wait, $7K? That's nothing.
That's nothing. For an open bar for all of your friends in like a prime Williamsburg.
Yes.
And so that's really not bad. And then of course you have to tip and stuff. But so I like kept thinking about it and honestly thank God I went with Pony Boy because the other places had like outdoor areas and the day of my wedding it was like rainy and hot and disgusting. And so what we really wanted was like a dance party and a lot of the venues we looked at it was like you could have a backyard for chatting or a dance room for dancing and I said you know what everything I read online was like if you want people to dance give them no option but dance. So I was like I want to go with Pony Boy. Pony Boy is already so pretty like you know I didn't have to I didn't bring a thing to Pony Boy.
Oh, they had a kitchen there too right so they
have a kitchen
food,
they had food. So they came back with a price that I think they kind of like pulled out of their butt being like, you won't pay this. And they're like, it'd be a lot. And I'm like, well, weddings are a lot. And they came at me and they go $30K. And I was like, that's too much. But then it was like $30K included the tip. It included all the food. It included security. It included unlimited alcohol and everything. And then it also included the DJ.
Oh.
And I was there. I got it they were open for me till 4 a.m. And I could have gotten there at 6 p.m. And so it is still like crazy. But it was like, I think for New York City, I don't regret.
So total 60 is a little above 60.
Yeah.
65 or something like that.
Yeah, but so here's the lie. Is I knew that because Pony Boy was so much more expensive than the other places I looked at, I felt that to ask for that so the problem that I have with my parents were my dad really, really wanted to pay for the wedding.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that, but they never gave me a budget. And I am not somebody who like wanted the most expensive wedding. I did my own flower. Like I'm not somebody who was like, I needed to have be over the top, blah, blah, blah. But they also had no idea what weddings cost. So I was like price analyzing everything to get them like the cheapest version of stuff. And it's like, if I had double the budget, I would have had the exact same wedding. Like I love my wedding so much, but I don't think they realized when I was coming at them with things that actually this is just what it costs to have a bus take people from venue A to venue. Like buses are expensive.
Yeah.
Photographers are expensive. Like they were shocked at the first floral quote we got, which was $13K, and we ended up not going with the florist.
So are they shocked because I mean the last time they got married was like in the 80s,
and I think their whole wedding cost about $10K. And so they're going wedding, and so they think not my dad really, but my mom would say things like think when I'm coming to her like, okay, well the florist I asked at $13,000, she thinks I'm coming in like a princess, and I was just like, no, I think that's just like what New York City florals cost, and a lot of florists won't even take anything below $10K because they're like, I could get a different wedding, and like it's just insanely expensive.
Yeah.
Like, why would a bouquet cost $400 for a bride? I don't know. I ended up just getting flowers from down the street. I didn't care.
Like some deli.
Like the bouquet to me was like the least important thing in the whole wedding because you hold it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't contribute to vibe. I also like the flowers on the table. People are sitting. It like creates an aura. There's an ambiance.
Yes.
But I'm like, the thing I hold for 10 minutes has nothing to do with anything. But like, I don't think they knew. But so a frustration we had at the beginning of planning is I would be like, well, what is the budget? And then I will stay within the budget and make cuts. Like, I know what the order priorities are to me, and I will cut things that are not big priorities to me. But the problem is my mom is, like, an artist, and I feel like she had a very, like, piecemeal way of looking at things where she would just look at something and be like, that seems to me too expensive for what that is. But then if you looked at the overall idea of what we were spending, you're like, yeah, but we're not getting a florist, so we just saved $13,000.
Right.
So even if this pot cost $40, like, so I sourced a bunch of, like, crystal candle holders for all the things. And it turns out at most thrift stores on the East Coast, they're going to be about $10 to $12. And she would like look at bunches of them where you could get like 10 for $120 and be like, that's too expensive for candles. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not when you consider the fact that we're saving $13,000 on decor.
Right.
And I feel like because so like she would hear what a bus costs and be like, that's crazy. I'm not paying that. But then I'm like, yeah, but what do you think is reasonable to spend on a wedding? This is a line item. Like, do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I'm like, this is
you
why
have to
weddings
run each item by your parents to be like, hey, this is...
Well, yeah, it's so funny because she would always tell people, she'd be like, it's Claire's wedding. She's doing all the work. And I'm like, no, I had to run everything by... Yeah, because, well, it is like a charter bus. It's like multiple thousands of dollars.
Right, to go from your...
And so I'd be like, okay, here's the bus I found. And they'd look at the price and she'd be like, that's crazy. And I'd be like, yeah, but like... to me, it's very like, and then we would have fights like, well, if we get a bus going only one way, and then my dad was like, what if we gave everybody a lift? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like little things.
Yeah.
But I get that when you hear a charter bus is $2,500 to $3,000, you're going, that's an insane price. But then the thing is, if you go, well, if we spend $75,000 on the wedding, like that's what it's coming. Do you mean? I think there's certain things that make sense. You go, yeah, the venue costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
The photographer costs a lot of money. Why would the bus cost money? But you're like, that's what makes a wedding expensive.
But you're busing 88 people.
Well, okay, so no, because we took the subway. Like 50 of us took the subway, so I only.
Oh, it's a bus.
And then actually, here's not to like shade my parents, but because it was such a point of contention for us, and of course, it has nothing to do with the bus. It had to do with like her problems with the fact that her sister kept being like, "Well, how am I going to get around New York?" Like a lot of extended family was like, "You want us to go to New York City?
Yeah,
we're gonna die." I mean, on all sides of the family, I had the dual feedback of, on the one hand, like, we're nervous about going to Brooklyn, it's going to be so dangerous, and also we just looked into the prices of a hotel in Brooklyn and we can't afford it.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so you're worried about you're worried about getting robbed in Brooklyn, you can't afford to be here. Like, what is, like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of like, where are we going to park? And you're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
A million people commute into the city every day. Like, take a trip, I don't know, figure it out. And so, of course, like, the bus thing was really coming from this place that she was so anxious that if she didn't provide exact transportation for everybody, then people wouldn't, like, nobody would know how to call an Uber. There was a lot of big thing about how, like, nobody on both sides of my family, like, would download Uber because they were like, how could that work?
I mean, sometimes you gotta pay for convenience, and I think $2,500 is a cheap price for just to have zero complaints, right?
Exactly.
No issues.
But like, and I get that you go to rent a bus for 2 hours. How could that be possible? But the thing is, like, it's always like, well, you can't run it for 2 hours because the minimum hours is 5, so you're technically paying for 5 hours, even though you're only using it. And then to me, it was really important that we had enough transportation to get from venue 1 to venue 2, because in my mind, I'm like, listen, a wedding in Arkansas, you're expected to get yourself there.
Right.
But if the weird thing I am doing is taking people from South Brooklyn to North Brooklyn, which is like a 35-minute commute in the middle of the event after, like, it's a real buzz killer. And I think it's important that, like, we make it
party
easy.
going. Yeah.
And because I had this dream of taking the subway, and we did it. So a lot of us just took the subway, the G train from point A to point B.
We took pictures in their stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's
and
cute.
like all of us, and it was really fun, and like it was kind of like a fun vibe. But I get it, a lot of people were like, no, just take me there.
Yeah, of course.
And so my mom was like, well, if we only pay for one, which one do we pay for? And then, so here's the kicker: is because of this huge fight I had with her, I like price compared every limousine company in New York City, and I found the cheapest one by a mile. And I found I was going to do Sprinter vans in front of a bus. So I was going to do 3 Sprinter vans going to the venue and then 2 Sprinter vans going to the second venue. And it was $300 or like $320 per van. So it came out to $1,600 total for 5 vans for everybody. Done. And that felt like a great deal.
You saved $1,000. Yeah.
Saved $1,000. Rehearsal dinner. My wedding planner comes to me and goes, okay, don't freak out, but your Sprinter van company, they got into a car accident today, and they've lost the license for the entire company, and they won't be able to pick you up tomorrow. And she goes, I just need from you authorization to do whatever it takes to fund you a bus for tomorrow. And I go, take my credit card. I don't care. Just go do it. Because at that point, I'm like, well,
it's too late. Yeah.
And so I looked at the charge. I think I ended up getting charged $2,450 for whatever we got the next day.
Yeah.
And then the kicker was that first bus company was a complete scam. So I'm about to sue them on Monday because they're still picking up the phone call. And then at one point they claimed they refunded me, and they said it's just caught up in your bank, and that's why you haven't gotten it yet. I called my bank.
Now you gotta get lawyers involved and shit?
Well, it's petty court.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna file a petty court thing.
Oh
but
my God.
The joke is this pressure on me to find the cheapest living bus. I ended up spending $1,600 that I guess I spent now $4,000.
Do you ever feel like anytime you try to save money, you later on you're like, I should have just got the first one I wanted because it's for $500 more or whatever it is?
Or can I say what often happens to me, and that's happened to me constantly in the wedding? That was this is like such silly advice. This is such privileged bullshit advice, but I'm like, the one thing I learned is just get the expensive thing. Because the amount of money I wasted getting something I didn't, like, that was just a little bit off, that was on sale, final price, to save $100, and then I get it, and it turns out it's shoes that don't fit, and now I can't even return them.
Yeah.
And I've spent half the money I was gonna spend on shoes, but on shoes that I have to replace now. And like the amount of things that I bought that weren't the right thing to save money that then like ended up having to be fully, like, I think I spent probably $1,500 in total on shit that was unusable.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't even count the $1,600 on the bus. So to get to the final thing, so I told my dad, I thought it was obnoxious that I wanted to go to Ponyboy with it being so expensive.
Yes.
And so my plan was just to pay for that part myself. But then my dad was like, no, I want to pay for your whole wedding. And so I had to put like a 25% down. And so I was like, okay, well, how about let's just split it I just put $7,500 down. So I was like, send me $7,500. And then at the end of the wedding, he was like, no, I really want to pay for the whole thing. I'll send you another $7,500 for $15,000.
Yeah.
But what he doesn't know is that I didn't put down half. I put down like, do you know what I mean? I was too embarrassed because I thought what I wanted was, I was like, this is an indulgence. I felt like Frankie's was a reasonably priced thing for a New York City wedding, but I think they have this whole second event that was so expensive.
Yeah.
But it's like what I wanted. And the problem is when you get married at 30, you have your own money. And I'm like, I want what I want, and I don't like. So that was like
no, but I think it's a really beautiful thing you're doing. It's like a fun secret.
Yeah,
it's not a bad. It's just like you care about your parents and you're so appreciative.
Yes.
But you respect their like willingness to help you so much that you are going to draw a line for yourself to be like, I cannot, anything beyond this is me taking advantage of you.
Yeah, and I really was like, I don't know. I didn't want to have the fight where they're like, no, that's too expensive, and I don't want to have the fight. I don't know. I was just like, it was too expensive, but it was something that I was like, I can pay for this part.
Yeah.
And so
That's fine though.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, you shelled out $15 of your own money. That's great. That's fine.
And can I tell you, I had so much fun that night.
Yeah, the food was great. The drinks were great. I mean, I think as you get older, you just have to pay for what you want and like be okay with it. And like, I think that takes a lot for someone to get there. But as you get older, you're just like, it's fine. $15K, I paid it, my own money. It's fine. Everybody had a good time. You know?
Yeah, I'm like I don't know.
Because the last thing you want is like to be in your honeymoon like thinking about the money.
Yeah, you know? And I was like, I didn't. This is like, I didn't spend money I didn't have.
Yes.
I will say, I think if I had gone into debt, I have not thought about that wedding since the day I left, to be honest. I had so much fun. I loved it so much. We'll have photos forever, blah, 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 blah. I have so moved on mentally from it in my life that I do think if I was like paying off credit card debt in honor of that wedding for the next year, I would have been like, well, that wasn't worth it.
I want to go into analysis and wrap this up because I don't want to keep you too long. But you know, this is interesting because it'll sort of, I think a lot of this will sort of reflect what you've been saying this entire podcast. Like you have this, I don't know, your relationship with money is interesting to me because you come from like your family who wants to support you financially and emotionally, but I like this sort of respect and appreciation you have for the things you get, you know. Well, and so you're not super like you spent about $4,700 on a monthly credit card. That's not
okay, but a lot of that is not even okay. Go through it because some of it is not even real.
Okay, it's not real? Okay. Yeah. By the way, before we start, is this like a business one or personal one? Because I noticed you had both things on there.
It's personal, but I put a lot of my business stuff on it that then I write off later.
Ah, got it. Yeah. Okay.
So go through because there's a big spend that gets fully reimbursed. So that's why, like.
Well, okay. What do you think your top 5 categories are for spending?
Well, I know that I bought like $1,400 of eyewear.
Right. That was the top medical.
And that's because through my husband, I have this incredible insurance thing where they will pay up to like $20,000 in refunds.
Of any medical?
Yeah, so anything with SPF gets refunded.
Wow.
Any prescription eyewear gets fully refunded. So I got prescription sunglasses and I had just lost my glasses on my honeymoon, so I needed a new pair of glasses.
That's free.
So I went in and I was like, yeah, ball out, add all
That's
these fixins.
not even real.
Because it was ending, like the fiscal year for my insurance is September 30th through September 30th. And I think I spent it like September 29th or something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck, Mac has not, I think we had $18,000 left and whatever. So he was like, go spend whatever you can.
Yeah.
So I know that big spend was something because I'll get it. It's fully being reimbursed.
Okay. Other categories. This is just some overview shit before we get to line by line. But $681 on dining out. I really didn't think that was crazy at all.
So something about when I was making like no money as a stand-up comic was I spent very little on rent. I had a really good deal on rent where I was never spending more than like $500 or $600 on rent.
The spot on Bedford?
Yeah.
That place was really nice.
I know. That was like kind of my hack to
life. $500?
Because I like took over the lease and I would like not Airbnb, but I do like 3 to 4 month rentals for fully furnished. And so I was able to charge a premium for that.
Wait, you'd go home or something and rent out your room?
No. There was 2 other rooms.
And you just rented it out?
It was a 1.5 bedroom. The guy who owned it lived in like Romania and didn't know that Williamsburg had gotten hot. It was a pretty static price. And I was just like renting out the big room for like
you were illegally renting it out, right? You can't really.
I was sublet. Yeah. I had roommates. I had roommates that were kind of like subsidizing my life, to be honest. But listen, it matched the market. People would be like, oh, this is the cheapest thing I found.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like crazy, but that is, so I never paid a lot of money in rent. And then because I was always doing stand up, I ate out all the time, but I never bought clothes. I never bought like makeup. So my big expense my whole life has always been eating out.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, it's really not that much. We've had people on this podcast, $1,300, $1,400.
Yeah.
A lot of people in LA, a lot of Seamless, a lot of DoorDash, you know?
Oh, I never order delivery.
I did
and
see
I've
that.
started doing making my own coffee most days.
Oh wow. Okay, so then we got shopping at 6:10. Now that includes like Amazon. I didn't know what you bought exactly. We can get into the ride share 5:30. You know.
Really? So what? Now that I've moved, I used to. So when I quit my job, I actually stopped taking Ubers altogether, and I started biking everywhere. But now that I've moved, me and Ashley both live very far apart from each other.
Yeah.
And it is like, I live in Bed-Stuy, and I used to be like take an L till 4 a.m. But you don't take the A.
No.
I mean, where I live, there's like a heroin dealer.
You live in the Utica A?
No, I live on the Nostrand A.
Oh, I used to live off there.
But I don't want to give away exactly where I live, but there's like around the corner from me, between me and the subway, it is just like it's not safe. I'm like 2 blocks away from the only homeless shelter in New York City where you're allowed to be on drugs.
Yep.
And I don't know, people like shit in front of my. I don't know. I just like it is. And the scary thing about Fulton is that nothing's open after 10 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm somebody that I'm alone. Like, I will run to a bodega if there's an open bodega, somebody's looking out for me. Yeah. But nothing is open at that time, and it is like I don't know, man.
No, I mean, safety's worth it. Safety's worth it for sure. And I know.
Wow, that isn't crazy to me. I also do a lot of e-biking and stuff.
I did see that. I
do a lot of.
You do all Lyft, no Uber. I was wondering if there's like a philosophy behind that.
I think I went from Uber to Lyft during the Muslim ban thing. Do you remember that?
Was Uber anti-Muslim?
Yeah.
They are? Like openly?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I do think it was one of those. I think it was like a political. Financial, it was like a divestment.
Well, you're not the first person I met who did this.
Like, it was a boycott thing in 2012, and then it was one of those things where people were like, well, you know, Icon, like Carl Icahn is an investor in Lyft, and he's not great either. But it was like something about Trump and the Muslim ban.
Right. I know. I've people who use Lyft instead of Uber. They have something against Uber politically usually.
And then
so it makes sense.
And then I stayed with Lyft because my credit card gets like 5x points on Lyft. And then also my primary mode of transportation is city biking, and you can access city bikes through Lyft.
Oh,
so any Lyft payment that's like under $6
is bike.
Is a bike.
I think I did see a couple
So I do think I have like probably $100. $100 of those dollars are like biking. Oh, and a lot of those actually, this is from October. Like I'd say $200 is going to airports, which I'll expense. I will say I probably take 5 to 6 Ubers a month. So I would say like 1/6 of that is probably e-bikes, and then I would say $200 of that is like going to LaGuardia.
Yeah.
And that's a $75 ride or something, and then getting home. Right. So I would say a lot, like half of that, because I'm surprised because I don't ride share a lot, and it's like a point of pride. But when we travel for work, I write it off.
Do you have a S corp or something? Or LLC?
Yeah, we just switched from LLC to S corp.
Gotcha. I do that thing where like if I pay with my own personal, I will reimburse myself fully, but I still write it off.
Yeah, I just haven't. I haven't. Yeah. No, I like to use my personal because I get all those Lyft. I get the credit card points.
Yeah.
But I do think that I personally have probably spent maybe $250 on rideshare.
Got it.
Yeah, maybe $10, $25 ones.
All right. Well, this is where we get into a little bit of spanking, as we like to call it.
Oh my God.
Spent $355 on dry cleaning September 30th. Okay. What the hell, bro?
That was all of our wedding stuff.
You dry cleaned your dress?
My dress. Yeah.
That's like supposed to? I have no idea.
Yeah, because
I thought you wear it once and you sell it or some shit. I don't fucking know.
It was covered in dirt. So if you want to sell it, or if you want to preserve it at all, it has to be cleaned. And I cleaned all of Mac's stuff. I cleaned all of my rehearsal dinner stuff. And then one of the things that we did instead of having a florist is we bought like really beautiful table linens, and then I was going to give them all to my friends and family as like a keepsake.
Yes.
But because we had pots of flowers, they all had dirt and stuff on them. So I wanted to get them professionally cleaned.
So you cleaned a lot of shit.
Yeah, I did every piece of like cloth from the wedding.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of those things where it's like one big expense so that everything can be
salvaged.
That
makes sense.
This salvaged thousands of dollars of clothing and stuff.
Now this is interesting, Claire.
Yeah.
2 charges of OnlyFans.
Listen, I'm a conscientious, ethical.
I love that.
I won't be
Your
shamed.
retort starts with conscientious. Keep going.
I won't be shamed for paying for porn. That's what you're supposed to do. It's 2023. Are you exploiting sex workers?
Here we go. October 6th, $9. October 25, $4.50. Are those 2 different creators?
I think one is a monthly, and then one was like a special vid.
Now, dude, I've fallen for those special vids, and it's never worth it for me. My experience with OnlyFans is always like, I'm horny. I want to see it. I click on it. I immediately unsubscribe because I only want to see it for 30 days. And then I look through it and I'm like, meh. That's every time for me.
I actually think that OnlyFans has like really closed up, like has like lessened my porn consumption. Because
less than your porn consumption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like when I used to do free porn, it's so limitless that like the more you're looking, the more you just glaze over, and then you have to go like down darker and darker holes to feel anything.
Yes.
I feel like I have that thing where it's like, you know, when like women are in burqas, so like the side of an ankle turns you on kind of thing. I feel like, actually, I'm not kidding, I feel like it's like rewired my brain, and I'm kind of like bored of this girl actually, but like I've subscribed to one girl that I think is hot, and because it's like, it's almost like become a switch now where like I don't need much.
And now because you're paying for it, you're like, I have to make this photo work.
Well, it's not even, it's just like I think my brain knows like just seeing like a cute pic of, like it's enough that it's almost, what's that Pavlovian response?
You know, this is good.
Where I think it's like I've really...
Right. It's like a kid who's never had like Coke or Starburst. An apple is enough. Yeah. Right? The kid's like, this is a delicious apple. I like this.
I really do feel like I have like a healthier, like it takes less because I don't have the freedom to just like look at everything all the time and then skip to the like, you know what I mean?
Oh my God, Claire, this is huge. I need to do this because I would pay $15-20. Hey, may I say even 40 a month?
Whoa.
Just to step away from that darkness. Because
I almost say, I think the more you're paying on OnlyFans, the less you're getting. Because if somebody can command $40 a month, that means that they're like a special person who's only going to show boob. Do you know what I mean? That's that's like a teacher who got fired, and like I bet you want to know what she looks like naked. And she only does solo stuff, and it's a, you know what I mean? It's like a novelty.
I hate the solo stuff.
But if it's like $5.99, they're like tried and true fucking professionals.
I was looking at your food expenses, and I wanted to see what the kind of shit you were eating.
Oh yeah,
and you know what really made me happy? You don't eat a lot of fast food. This is so just honestly because I'm based in LA. I don't interview a lot of New Yorkers, and I wonder if this is just like the New York way. If people just do this because it's like too expensive or whatever it is. But everybody we've interviewed in LA has been like just DoorDash out the fucking wazoo. It's like
I've never DoorDashed in my life.
Yeah,
I mean, my mindset is in New York City, you are always closer in walking distance. That if you call it in, by the time you walk there, you'll have it. And like when I first started dating Mac, he DoorDashed everything. And when I would look at the price of what he was spending and like taxes, fees, tip, I was like, that's often the price of my meal. And because it was like his account, in my mind, I was always like, I'll let you do this, but I'll go pick it up because that saves you so much money.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like, now I don't feel bad that you're always paying for my dinner. Because you kind of broken even with me picking it up anyway.
Yeah.
And then also I've heard businesses like lose, I don't know. I just like, I'm like, it takes you longer to get the food. The food shows up cold. It's quicker to just walk and get it. And I love to bop. I'm a big bop area.
No, we love bopping. That's a really good point because in New York, you're right. There's fucking food everywhere, so you can probably just walk to it. Whereas in LA, like you can't really walk to it because you're in the middle of a mountain or something. But
and I actually have a philosophical thing against DoorDash and what's the other one?
Like Seamless.
Because you go to restaurants these days and there's like 1,000 dudes out there on their motorbikes waiting for a delivery, and I just think, why do you live in New York City? Why do you live in New York City if you're not going to walk a block away to go to the cool restaurant? Like, if you're just getting everything delivered anyway, live in the fucking suburbs and don't have any culture. But, like, I do think it's, like, impacting the restaurant experience for people who sit in restaurants. And I am like, what do you want to live in? Like, a Mr. Beast world where we're all sitting at our computer in the suburbs with ghost kitchens? Like, if you don't want to go to the restaurant, why be here? If it's too much for you to, like, the point of living in New York City is you could walk down the street and have, like, an incredible meal from any country in the world.
Yes.
If you're staying home, go home. Like, I just like don't. I think like it's really ruined the culture. I think it's like fucked up restaurant experiences. When you go to a restaurant, it's half an hour to get your food because they're doing 90 other orders for people that are too lazy to walk over. Like it eats up. I just like, what is it that you? I don't know. I just like don't understand it. I do think like the seamless takeover, like it's weird.
This is cracking me up. Catbird jewelry, $324.
This is a secret. Oh, this is bad.
You want me to?
No, I'll tell you. But actually, that is a very out of character purchase for me, and I hope Mac doesn't listen to this.
Yo, what is this? Are you a jewelry girly? I didn't even know.
No, for my engagement did not get a wedding engagement ring. I didn't want one. It wasn't important to me. And so Mac instead got me like a nameplate necklace because I always said I wanted a necklace with his name on it because I do so little about him in public. Like we're so our own people when we're not at home kind of thing that I was like, I do want like a little something for you. So he got me a nameplate necklace, and then the week of the wedding I left it at a yoga studio and lost it. And I can tell he's like, thank God he didn't get me an expensive diamond because I couldn't ever replace it. But like, I think he's noticed I'm not wearing it, but he hasn't asked. So I went and had to rebuy it, and hopefully I'll just put it back on and he'll never know.
It's the exact same one?
Yeah.
But it says Mac on it? And it's a custom made.
Yeah.
Dude, this is juicy, bro.
So that's like.
But I don't think
that's
that.
a really like that was supposed to be a once in a lifetime purchase that were like twice. Not twice in a lifetime.
I feel like if he found out, he wouldn't even be that mad. But this is very funny.
I really
Wait,
like.
but you're so full of cute secrets, like this and the dad thing. Like you really. I mean, I know earlier you're like my whole thing's I have a bad vibe, but I think this is why I always fucked with you because people may say that, but I only see this side of you. I only see the Claire who like
I'm trying,
is
baby.
empathetic and is like and worried about other people's feelings and like doing this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're a great person.
And I have a lie ready to go because I think it'll
Stop! What is your lie? What's your story?
I think it'll be ready right around Thanksgiving. So I think I can say like, oh, I left it at my parents' house.
You're saying you ordered it in October 19th, so you don't even have it yet.
No, it takes 6 weeks to make.
Oh my God, this is so risky.
So, but I think I haven't seen my parents since the wedding. And I'll see them on Thanksgiving, and I think I'll be ready right around that time. So I think when I put it back on, and Mac will be like, oh, where has that been? I'll be like, oh, I left it at my parents' house. Because there is something like, I feel sad that I lost the one. I like feel so, I like can't believe I did it. And like.
It's a mistake.
And like I left jewelry.
Where do you think you left it?
I know, I left it at the Core Power Yoga in Williamsburg.
Can you call?
I called, I went, they didn't have it. I think what happened is it's so dainty. It's such a small, tiny little gold necklace that like with the lights off, somebody probably just mopped it up and threw it out.
Yeah.
Because I've left stuff before. I've left ring. Like I'm always in there being like,
take it off and then you do yoga and you put it back on?
I always wear it thinking I can just do the yoga through it, and then halfway through I go, I was getting caught in my mouth.
Yeah.
And then I go, I'll just remember it. But by the end of yoga, you're putting away blocks, you're putting away mats, you're wiping down, you're exhausted, you want water, you want to check your phone, you forget.
I love that. Also, it's really nice that you did like a necklace instead of like a tattoo or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that way I could take it off and lose it.
Oh my God.
I always say I'll get a tattoo for you, and he's like, that's okay, you don't have to. And I'm like, oh, I want to. And he's like, well, I don't really want that.
I think that's it. Claire, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh my God, thanks for having me.
Thank you for fucking bearing this. It's hard to do this alone, but thank you so much for doing it. You were so fun to talk to. Natural. Where can our fans find you and your work?
It's my big thing,
Let
as you've heard.
Let
Celebrity Memoir Book Club. On all platforms, all socials, all podcasts. And then I'm Claire the Scare, like everywhere.
Check it out. I've also guested on the Ali Wong episode, so go back and check it out.
You're going to be one of our first interviews on our new project.
I can't wait.
I
can't wait to do that. So definitely check them out. It's really, really good. I always learn so much. It's an incredible podcast. Please follow us on all the socials at Cash Cuties Pod. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Fumi Abe. That's CHGFUMIABE. Come see me on tour. Tickets at FumiAbe.com. I'm coming to Irvine and Dallas, and I think San Francisco sometime in the winter. And shout out to our sound engineer Domagoy, our video editor Matthias, and our analyst Holly Sandler. Thank you guys so much for helping us out, and we'll see you guys next week. Until then, spend your money wisely, or as Steffie would say, or have fun. Bye.